There was a test. No paper, no rules, no warning it started, no signal it ended. Right now, somewhere far outside your sight, the people who wrote it are staring at your results in silence. They expected a different outcome. They planned for a different outcome. They quietly bet on a different outcome. And the silence in that room right now, the one you'll never walk into, is the sound of a plan that didn't survive contact with you. You've felt it, haven't you? The wait with no explanation, the praying that seemed to land nowhere, the silence that answered nothing at all. That wasn't neglect. That was the exam. And chosen one, you already passed it. You know this feeling. The waiting with no finish line. The praying that seemed to go nowhere. The mornings you got up anyway, for no reason you could explain, when giving up would have made more sense to everyone watching. Nobody announced it. No signal, no proctor calling time, just silence. And you, showing up inside it, again and again, long after most people would have walked away. That's the part they never told you. The waiting wasn't the punishment. The waiting was the exam. And you didn't just survive it. You answered every question they never asked out loud. You can study for almost anything. Nobody could study for this one, because nobody else was sitting your exact exam. Timed to your exhaustion, shaped to your exact doubts, arriving exactly when you had the least left to give. That wasn't random. That was precision. And precision like that doesn't get spent on someone who isn't worth measuring. Ask yourself honestly, how many nights did you sit with a question nobody would answer? How many mornings did you get up anyway, with no proof it mattered? How many times did you almost stop, and didn't? Chosen one, before we go any further, if even one line of this already landed somewhere in your chest, don't just keep scrolling past it. Hit that like button right now, not as a favor to me, but as a signal to the algorithm that this needs to reach the next person sitting exactly where you were 6 months ago. Subscribe if you haven't, so you don't miss the moment this story catches up to you completely. And while you're at it, tell me in one word how this already feels. That's it, one word, right now, in the comments. Let's keep going. A test with no instructions isn't cruelty. It's the only kind that can't be studied for, gamed, or faked. Anyone can perform when they know they're watched. Anyone can hold it together when there's a scoreboard. But you were never given a scoreboard. You were given silence, and left to choose. Every day, whether you'd still show up with nobody keeping score. Not can you survive, but who will you be when nobody's confirming you're doing it right? Most people fail that test quietly. They shrink, they harden, they start performing for an audience that was never there. But you didn't perform, you didn't shrink, you didn't harden, you just kept living, kept trying, kept getting up, without one person telling you it mattered. You built patience nobody clapped for, belief with no evidence attached to it, a version of yourself that doesn't ask permission to keep going. That's not something you fake your way into. That's something that only gets built in exactly the silence you just walked through. The results are in. You didn't just pass. You passed a test most people don't know exists. That's why the wait is over. Not because you did something new, because what you already did can no longer stay hidden. And here's what matters most before we go deeper. They never came at you the same way twice. First they tried exhaustion, then blocking, then silence, then wait, meant to sink you outright, then doubt about your own story, then doubt about your own direction, then doubt about your own reflection, then a verdict passed on you without a trial, then isolation from anyone you might have helped, then an attempt to smother anything that could grow from what happened to you, then an attempt to erase your name from the record, then an attempt to make sure your light would burn out unnoticed, then the hope, quietly, that it would simply end with you. Notice something about that list before we go any further. It isn't 16 random tactics thrown at you in no particular order. It's a ladder. Each failed attempt forced the next one to go deeper, from your body, to your voice, to your sense of self, to the people you might one day reach. That's not coincidence. That's what happens when something refuses to give up on stopping you and keeps running out of floors to try. Chosen one, if you feel that shift happening right now, I need you to do something with me, not just watch me say it. Drop the number 333 in the comments below. Not as a comment, as a declaration. It's you saying, out loud, in front of strangers who are exactly where you were. I know now. I was being tested, and I passed. Every single time you type that number, somewhere, another chosen one scrolling past sees it and stops scrolling. That's not a small thing. That's the whole reason this works. Type it now. Then let's go all the way in. They didn't need to lock the door. They just needed you to stop turning the dial. That was the whole plan, and it was always going to fail. A vault like that has no combination written anywhere. You learn it by feel, alone, in the dark, long after anyone reasonable would have quit. That was your season. They gave you nothing. You found it one turn at a time. How many times did you turn that dial with zero proof it would ever click? How many times did you almost stop and didn't? How many nights did the dark answer you with nothing, and you turned it anyway? How many mornings did you wake up and go right back to the same door, without anyone asking you to? They assumed you'd walk away, because most people do. They assumed wrong, because most people aren't you. They assumed the silence would do their work for them, and it never did. You stayed. And a vault that only opens for patience doesn't open for people who quit. It opened for you, because you never left the room. That door was never built to keep everyone out. Only everyone except the one person willing to stay long enough to learn it by feel. Not punishment. A filter. And you're the one it was built to let through. That's why they're stunned now, even if they'd never admit it out loud. They calculated exhaustion the way an accountant calculates a debt, assuming it would eventually collect. It never did. Not because you were immune to exhaustion, but because you kept choosing to turn the dial anyway, one more time, past the point where choosing made any logical sense at all. When exhaustion didn't work, they escalated. Doors that used to open, stopped. Paths that used to be clear, closed, one after another. Not bad luck. Construction. A river blocked by concrete doesn't disappear. It backs up. It waits. It finds the smallest crack in the structure built to hold it, and it doesn't ask permission to keep flowing. It just does. Why do you think it felt like everything pressed in on you at once? Why did every door close in the same season? Why did it feel engineered instead of accidental? Because it was. They dammed every path they could see. They saw a still pond and called it victory. They never saw the current underneath. Still moving, still carving toward the opening they never noticed. They built the dam. You became the river that outlasted it. Water doesn't argue with concrete. It doesn't announce a plan. It just keeps being water, patiently, until the wall built to stop it becomes the very thing that shows where it was weakest all along. Notice what they never accounted for. A dam takes constant maintenance. Every crack has to be watched, patched, reinforced against pressure that never stops arriving. You only had to keep being what you already were. That's an unfair fight disguised as a fair one. They had to work every single day to hold back something that only had to keep doing what it does naturally. When walls didn't stop you, they went after your voice directly, talked over you, talked around you, made sure the right people weren't in the room when you spoke. Not carelessness, interference. And interference only gets built for a signal worth blocking. A strong signal survives static, a weak one never could. That was you, sending hope into a season made of nothing but noise. Didn't it feel, some nights, like everything worked against you being heard? How many times did you speak and feel it land nowhere? How many times did you almost stop talking altogether? That wasn't failure. That was interference, and interference only exists where there's something worth blocking. They spent so much effort jamming a weak signal, never asking why a weak signal would need that much effort to silence. It wasn't weak, it was clear. Somewhere right now, someone is catching a fragment of what you've been putting out this whole time, even through the noise. They don't know your name yet, but they heard something, and a message doesn't need a reply to have been received. Some of the people you reached are still holding what you sent, waiting for the right moment to tell you it mattered. When silencing you didn't work either, they stopped trying to stop any one thing, and just started piling on everything at once, hoping sheer weight would do what precision couldn't. A ship isn't built to carry nothing. It's built to carry exactly the load it was designed for, and to sit lower in the water while it does. From the shore, a heavily loaded ship riding low looks like it's about to go under. It isn't. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. How much did they load onto you in a single season? How many things were you carrying at once that any one person should never have had to carry alone? How many times did you look at everything stacked on top of you and wonder if this was finally the weight that would take you under? It wasn't. Because a hull built for that load doesn't sink under it. It just rides lower, steadier, harder to tip than a ship carrying nothing at all. They mistook your low water line for taking on water. It was never taking on water. It was just carrying more than they ever imagined you could hold. and still moving forward anyway. Some of the most enduring stories were turned away first, rewritten quietly in private, released long after the people who dismissed them had moved on to something else. How many times were you told, directly or through silence, that your story wasn't worth telling? How many times were you told to shrink it, simplify it, or stop telling it at all? How many times did you almost believe them? You didn't stop. You revised in rooms nobody saw. That manuscript is already circulating, without their permission. They were never wrong about its power. They were only ever early. Being early to dismiss something doesn't make you right about it. It just means you'll be the last one to hear how the story actually turns out. A compass doesn't work by feeling calm. It works by staying accurate no matter how violently it's shaken. Spin it. Drop it. Throw it into a storm. The needle still finds north. Every time. Because that's what it's built to do. How many times did the chaos try to convince you that you'd lost your direction completely? That you didn't know what you believed anymore? That you didn't know who you were, or where any of this was leading? How many times did you doubt the one thing about you that never actually moved? You were never lost. You were shaken. There's a difference, and only one of those two things changes what's true. They mistook your stillness for confusion. It was the needle, settling, again and again, exactly where it belonged. A compass that never gets tested, never proves anything to anyone, including itself. This one almost worked, because it didn't come from outside you. It came from what they said, repeated until you started to wonder if it was true. A mirror struck hard enough cracks, but doesn't shatter. The reflection still shows up, just distorted at the edges, harder to trust, but never gone. How many nights did you catch yourself believing a version of you that no one who actually knew you would recognize? How many times did their voice start sounding like your own thoughts? How many times did you check the mirror anyway, looking past the fracture for what was actually there? A cracked mirror still reflects the truth through the fracture lines. Every time you refused the smaller reflection they were selling, the crack meant less. That refusal is the whole reason this mirror never actually broke. The more they repeated the smaller version of you, the more obvious it became that they needed you to believe it. Because nobody spends that much energy convincing someone of something that's already true. They didn't wait to hear your side. They didn't need to. A verdict had already been decided somewhere you were never invited, about a version of you that was never actually in the room. A courtroom without a defense isn't a courtroom. It's a formality dressed up as justice, and formalities like that rarely survive contact with an actual appeal. How many times were you judged for something nobody bothered to ask you about? How many times was a story about you finished before you ever got a sentence in? How many verdicts were passed on a version of you that didn't exist outside their own imagination? Verdicts reached without a defense don't hold up on appeal, and this one is already being appealed, not by you standing up to argue your case, but by the plain, ongoing evidence of how you actually lived. That kind of evidence doesn't need a lawyer. It just needs time, and time is the one thing that was never on their side. What they tried, stranding you. They wanted your path to end with you. No trail left behind. Nobody able to follow. A bridge built for someone to cross doesn't collapse behind them. It stays standing. Somebody else is going to walk across the exact planks you found in the dark. They'll never know your name. They'll cross because you went first. How many times did you take a step with no proof there was ground waiting? How many times, somehow, was there ground? How many times did you cross without ever seeing the whole bridge, only ever seeing enough to take the next step? Nobody builds a bridge for a shore they don't expect anyone to reach. That includes the people walking it after you. Somewhere down the line, someone is going to stand at the edge of their own fog, terrified, with no visible path forward, and the first plank they find is going to hold, because you already tested it. Not break the person. Make sure the breaking means nothing to anyone else, ever. A hard frost strips a garden bare. To anyone walking past, it looks like everything died. But underground, where no one's watching, the root system doesn't stop working. It goes still on the surface and grows exactly where the cold can't reach it. Wasn't there a season that looked, from the outside, like everything in you had gone dormant? Like nothing was happening, nothing was growing, nothing left to give anyone? How many people assumed that meant it was over? They saw bare ground and called it defeat. They never saw the roots doing quiet work no frost can touch. Root systems spread sideways before anything shows above the surface, which means whatever grows next isn't only yours. Something near you is about to grow, Because your roots reached it first, quietly, long before either of you knew it was happening. Quiet edits, convenient omissions, credit that drifted toward someone louder, while you did the actual work in the margins. Entries in a ledger can be contested, minimized, conveniently forgotten in the retelling, but they can't be deleted, because the work already happened. Not a claim, a record. How many times did you watch someone else get thanked for what you built quietly? How many times did you let it go, because arguing for credit felt smaller than the work itself? How many times was that restraint mistaken for absence? That restraint was never weakness. It was proof you were never doing this for the ledger. Erasing a name from the retelling doesn't erase it from the record. Somewhere, in ink they don't control, your name is still exactly where it always was. And records have a strange habit of resurfacing exactly when someone finally goes looking for the truth, instead of the convenient version of it. Every torch looks like it's about to go out right before someone leans in close enough to light their own from it. They were betting on the wind. They forgot torches get shielded by the very hands trying to keep them lit. How many times did you feel like whatever you had left to give was down to embers? How many times did you keep offering it anyway, to somebody who needed exactly that much warmth and nothing more? How many times did that small, nearly gone flame turn out to be exactly enough? A torch doesn't need to burn at full height to light another one. It just needs to still be burning when someone else runs out of their own light. Yours was never as close to going out as they hoped. It was just burning low enough, long enough, for the right person to find it in time. What they tried, convincing you nobody was watching. The loneliest lie, the least true one. A flare isn't loud, it doesn't announce itself. But it can be seen for miles, by people who never said a word about watching, until the exact moment they needed to respond to it. You may have felt unseen, like a vacuum, like none of it would ever matter to another living person. How many nights did you assume the sky above you was empty? How many times were you wrong about that? It wasn't a vacuum, it was a night sky, and you were the one thing in it still giving off light. That kind of light gets found, every time. And it doesn't just get found, it gets followed, sometimes by people who won't introduce themselves for months, quietly reorganizing their own plans around the direction your light was already pointing. Contain the damage. Keep it here. Make sure it goes no further. A seed doesn't need permission to outlive the storm that scattered it. One crack of soil, one season of rain nobody was watching for. It becomes something the storm never accounted for. Is what you carry only going to matter to you? Or is someone nearby already going to need exactly what you learned in that vault, that fog, that frost? How many people are about to benefit from something they'll never know you paid for? Whatever they tried to bury in you didn't stay buried. It's already germinating in places they'll never think to check. In a conversation you'll have next month. In a decision someone else makes because they watched how you made yours. One room they always meant to keep your name out of. Where decisions get made. Where the reveal actually happens. Someone finally says a name that wasn't supposed to come up. Not because anyone campaigned for it, because it became impossible to leave out. Isn't that exactly what you were told would never happen? How many times were you promised that room would stay closed to you forever? Rooms don't stay sealed forever. Neither does a name attached to work that's real. That's why the wait is over. Not out of kindness, but because what you built made the door impossible to keep closed. They spent years managing what got said in that room. They never accounted for the one variable they couldn't control. Work real enough to speak for itself, whether or not anyone in the room wanted it to. A sunrise doesn't ask anyone's permission, and it doesn't check anyone's calendar. It arrives on its own schedule, regardless of who was hoping the night would run longer. How many nights did it feel like morning would never come? How many times did you check the horizon for light that wasn't there yet, and keep checking anyway? How many times did the dark try to convince you the sun had forgotten the way? It hadn't. It never does. Every single night they thought would finally be the one that finished you ended. Eventually, exactly the way every night on record has ended. And here's the part they never planned for. Sunrise doesn't apologize for the night before it. It just arrives, undeniable, on schedule, whether the room is ready for it or not. Chosen one. None of it was one story repeated 16 times. It was an escalation. Exhaust you, block you, silence you, overload you, make you doubt your story, your direction, your reflection, judge you without a trial, strand your impact, freeze your growth, erase your credit, wait out your light, convince you nobody was watching, hope it ends with you, Keep your name out of the room. And still, the sun came up anyway. It didn't end with you. It never was going to. The wait is over now. Not because the waiting changes, but because you finally know what it was for. You passed every version of the test they kept redesigning. Every failed attempt was never a delay in your story. It was them, quietly, running out of ways to stop something that was never going to stop. If this reached you tonight, chosen one, drop 333 one more time. Say it like you mean it, because you do. Then do one more thing before you go. Tell me, in the comments, which chapter was yours. The vault? The frost? The room they tried to keep you out of? I want to know which one hit, because that tells me exactly what to bring you next. And if you know someone still waiting on their own sunrise, send them this one. They don't need the whole explanation. They just need to know the wait is almost over for them too.